It should go down as one of the most decorated careers in baseball history, and it is one of the most important careers in Giants history. Buster Posey, after 12 seasons in the major leagues, is walking away from the game, at least as a player, at least for now. He is set to announce his retirement today, according to Andy Baggerly of The Athletic. So, on today's Locked On Giants podcast, we're going to talk about everything that Buster Posey accomplished, everything that he meant to this franchise, and then what the heck is next for the Giants, who are losing a player who looked to be still arguably the best catcher in the game. So walking away at his best. So we'll get into all of that next on today's Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So, wow, the news is major. Buster Posey, the best catcher in the game year after year after year, then looked to go into some decline and then comes back with authority in 2021. And I think we can make the case still the best catcher in the game in 2021, possibly even projecting into 2022. But he says, I'm done. He calls it a career. This is something we've talked about as a possibility a lot on this show over the last couple of months. Posey, the way that he was talking, it sounded like this was a distinct possibility. Brandon Crawford signed that mid-season extension, and naturally there were questions about an extension for Posey, an extension for Belt. But when Posey was asked about the possibility, he simply said he's going to wait until after the season and sit down with his wife and talk about his future. And so that was our first alarm bell going off that, he doesn't even want to talk about an extension. He needs to talk with his wife about his future. And so, look, Buster Posey is a father. He's got an older set of twins and a relatively newborn set of twins. I don't know what the criteria is for calling babies newborns, but they were born prematurely last summer, and it's a big reason why he opted out of the short 2020 season with COVID obviously going around. But anyway, shocking in a way. Some people are saying it's not shocking, we knew this was coming. It's still shocking. Even if you suspect something might be coming, you can still be shocked by it. And I kind of am. It's a little bit hard to believe. Buster Posey, from the moment he showed up for good in 2010, changed this franchise. He completely changed the franchise, and it was immediate. He wins Rookie of the Year in 2010 and leads them to their first ever championship in San Francisco. And in that 2010 season, he hit .305 with a .357 on base and .505 slugging. And what's crazy is that if we look at his 2021 season, the numbers are remarkably similar. He hit 18 home runs in that first full season in 108 games. He hit 18 home runs in his final season in 113 games. The slugging percentage was .505 in that first season. The slugging percentage was .499 in his last season. So, so he wins the Rookie of the Year award and he leads them to a World Series. 2011, of course, the year Scott Cousins blows him up at home plate and he has that devastating injury, misses the rest of the season. But then what does Buster Posey do? He is super resilient, both physically and kind of mentally, and he comes back in 2012 and has the best season of his entire career, wins the MVP award, has one of the only 10 plus FanGraphs wins above replacement seasons in history. And so one of the truly great seasons of all time, Buster Posey's 2012 season, leads them to another World Series ring. And then, of course, he does it again in 2014. And it's just it's an unbelievable career. It's a Hall of Fame career, and it had everything to do with the Giants winning all 3 championships. He generally wasn't at his best in the playoffs, but I would say a lot of that had to do with being a catcher. And by the time the postseason rolls around, he's been in a squat for 7 months. And so it's not all that surprising. He's often looked like he's lost weight at the end of the season. He's often looked out of gas a little bit at the end of the season. But anyway, I mean, the accomplishments, I could go on for an entire episode, and I pretty much will, talking about his accomplishments. As I said, 3 World Series rings, Rookie of the Year, MVP. He's caught one of just 23 perfect games in Major League history. He caught a couple of other no-hitters, Chris Heston and Tim Lincecum. He's won a Gold Glove. He's won multiple Silver Sluggers. I believe he's a 7-time All-Star, and he's been snubbed a couple of times. And, I mean, what else can you say? He ends up, if this is truly the end, which we have every reason to believe it is, he ends up hitting .302 with a .372 on base, .460 slugging, a 129 weighted runs created plus, 158 home runs, 1,371 games, and exactly 1,500 career hits. So coming up next, we'll talk about some of the best moments of Posey's career, and then we will ultimately wrap it up looking at where do the Giants go from here. Like, it's almost hard to even fathom a future without Buster Posey, but that is what we're looking at here. It's really not even fully hitting me just yet that is the reality for this team. So stay tuned for that entire discussion next. But first, we're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your #1 spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, we are going to get into Buster Posey. I mean, there's so much to say. We could spend an entire month talking about the legacy of Buster Posey on the San Francisco Giants. It is not ultimately that surprising that he's made this decision. The writing was on the wall in a lot of ways. As I said, a lot of the comments that he's made, but also the fact that, I mean, what else does he have to prove? What else could he possibly accomplish at the major league level? He has done it all. He really has. And I mean, the one thing that comes to mind, and it's kind of a joke, is that he'd never hit one into McCovey Cove. And what's funny is that his last home run of his career, of course, comes in the postseason this year against Walker Buehler on a 3-0 pitch in the first inning of Game 1. And that ball that he hit was probably headed for McCovey Cove, but it hit on top of one of those water cannon pillars. And he said after the game, like, he can't believe, he wants to chop down the water cannon or something like that. He can't believe that the water cannon pillar kept him from his first splash hit. So that's really, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's true. What else did he not do? He's done it all. And so for me, it makes a lot of sense that he walks away at this point. And it's very Buster Posey that he's walking away from tens of millions of dollars, and he's okay with that. I've been thinking about this today, and if he came to the conclusion that the only reason it made sense for him to continue playing was the money, he wasn't going to do that. He is not about that. He's already made generational wealth, close to $150 million. The COVID season changed the contract that he signed a little bit. So, yeah, it's around $140 plus million that he's earned in his playing career. There was a $22 million club option that the Giants held over Posey, and it was a no-brainer to at least pick that up. So he's walking away from at least $22 million before taxes, of course, which are probably pretty hefty here in California, earning that kind of money. But I digress here. Just a Hall of Fame career, and I'm just going to talk about some of my favorite moments that come to mind, as it's hard to believe that it's over. Like for those of us who have witnessed it from beginning to end, it seems like it went by in a flash, from start to finish. Just a difference maker if there ever was one. It's hard to say that any player impacted his team more than Posey impacted this franchise. So for me, there's so many different memories. There's the 4-hit game in the playoffs against the Phillies in 2010. There's catching the final out of that NLCS against the Phillies with Brian Wilson on the mound, a called strike 3 to Ryan Howard. There's catching the final out of the World Series in 2010. Brian Wilson against Nelson Cruz, a swing and a miss to bring the Giants their first championship in over 50 years. And moving on to 2012, just that entire season, Posey was just an absolute monster. And then in the playoffs, the home run, the grand slam that he hit against Matt Latos in Game 5 of that NLDS, when the Giants started out that series trailing 2-0, and they had to play 3 consecutive road games. They had to win them all, and they did, capped off by that Buster Posey grand slam in Game 5. So for me, that might be the biggest kind of moment of his entire career, the biggest defining moment, just the most, I don't know, it's just the moment that stands out to me the most, but there are so darn many of them. Also in that season, he caught a perfect game thrown by Matt Cain. Like I said earlier, one of just 23 perfect games in the history of baseball. And also he's caught other no-hitters as well. And then he hit a home run, the winning home run in Game 4 of the World Series in 2012, and he caught the final out thrown by Sergio Romo. And then in 2014, he caught all of the Madison Bumgarner games that led the Giants to another World Series championship, their third in 5 seasons. Of course, he was behind the plate for the final out, the pop-up that went to Pablo Sandoval. So then Posey's career continued, and he just kept putting up great numbers, even though that would be the last championship ring he would earn. He just continued to be the best player on the team and the best catcher in the game. That's the thing about Posey, is he has been the best catcher in the game pretty much since he showed up. And so, to me, clear Hall of Famer based on that. And if you look at FanGraphs wins above replacement since Posey's career started until now, only Mike Trout is ahead of Buster Posey. Really a case to be made that he's been the second best player in terms of that period of time. You know, longevity plays a role, of course, if somebody's career starts in 2016 and they're better now, whatever, but during the decade, Posey was very arguably the second best player in the game behind only Mike Trout. And so what's so remarkable to me, though, is that he looked to be in decline. He started to have evident decline in 2018 and 2019. He hit under 10 home runs in each of those 2 seasons. He was about league average offensively in 18. He was below league average in 2019. So then he opts out of the 2020 season, but then in 2021 comes back, wins Comeback Player of the Year again, has a monster offensive season, 40% above average by weighted runs created plus, leads the Giants to a franchise record 107 wins, and then has that big moment in the playoffs. And so what else could he accomplish? What else could he prove? It's just, wow, what a career Buster Posey had. He was like the glue connecting all of those championship teams. He was the only player remaining from the 2010 team. With Ron Wotus retiring also, there's nobody left from that original championship team. And Brandon Crawford is the only player who was even part of 2012 or 2014, with Brandon Belt a free agent. Brandon Belt could be back, but they would be the only two around for any of the championships, including the coaching staff, including the people leading baseball operations in the front office. So the only constant in life is change, and it's truly the end of an era with Buster Posey set to announce his retirement today. He obviously has earned it, and he's kind of a quiet guy who would probably prefer to be out of the spotlight, but he always attracted the spotlight just based on his loud performance on the field. Not a loud player generally, like personally and off the field, but a loud performance on the field. And so I think in a lot of ways he is going to be happy in retirement. He's done a lot of tremendous work with pediatric cancer, and I'm sure he's going to continue that work. He and his wife have a home in the East Bay, and yeah, I mean, we're going to be seeing a lot of Posey. Hopefully he is around frequently, but don't expect him to like jump into a coaching role anytime soon. I'm sure he is really looking forward to being a full-time dad. That's just the kind of guy he is. So anyway, coming up next, where do the Giants go from here? What is the plan for 2022 and beyond at the catcher position, with the best catcher in the game still arguably walking away and calling it a career? All right, as promised, we're going to get into where the Giants go from here with the news that Buster Posey is set to announce his retirement today. I assume there's probably going to be a press conference, and I really look forward to that. And coming up tomorrow, we're going to have more reaction to this major news. Buster Posey set to retire, one of the best players in franchise history, arguably the most important player in franchise history. I mean, the way that he brought 3 championships to the Giants, like, he was so good that I don't think they win any of the 3 without him. So, the 5th overall pick in 2008. Thank you very much to the 4 teams who picked ahead of the Giants who passed on Buster Posey. Imagine how history could have been different if one of those 4 teams had made the right call and drafted Posey before the Giants were able to nab him at number 5. So yeah, we have to turn the page for now just to talk about where do the Giants go from here, because life goes on as a baseball team, right? You can't just dwell in the past. You've got to field a roster for 2022. And so the Giants will not be obligated, obviously, to pay the buyout on the $22 million option. Not that that really matters, but they were going to commit at least $22 million to Posey for 2022. I suppose if they worked out an extension, it might have a lower value in 2022, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, it's more money that they'll have to spend. They already have a ton of money freed up. I did the math yesterday. They only have about $44 million committed for 2022 at this point, and that includes the buyouts on all these club options. A couple of them will be picked up, and so it comes out to about $48 million committed. But what do they do at the catcher position? I think that's what everybody wants to know. Well, Curt Casali has one more year of club control for 2022, and I think the odds of that getting picked up, he's arbitration eligible for the final time, and that projected salary in arbitration is $2 million per MLB trade rumors. And so the likelihood of the Giants tendering a contract to Casali, I think, went up with this news for Buster Posey. And part of that is that the free agent class for catchers is a very, very bleak list. It includes kind of Manny Pena and somebody else. I'm looking them up right now, pulling it up. Yan Gomes at the top of the list. And beyond that, Robinson Chirinos, Stephen Vogt. It is just not a very good list. And so it's not exactly the best time for the Giants to be looking for another catcher. Now, I know a lot of people are immediately probably thinking about Joey Bart, and for good reason. I do think that this dramatically increases the odds of the Giants aggressively kind of introducing or reintroducing Joey Bart to the major league level in 2022. But you've got to have some kind of veteran presence in case Bart doesn't work out. I mean, look at what happened in 2020. Posey opted out. Joey Bart was playing every day, and it wasn't good. He really, really looked like he wasn't ready to be at the major league level. And so the Giants have some tough decisions to make. They have to evaluate what they think they're going to get out of Bart moving forward, and otherwise fill out their catcher position with someone who's established. There's a lot of trade possibilities. There are some players who have yet to be kind of like non-tendered, or maybe there's a club option or two or a player option that'll be declined or something like that. So this isn't necessarily the full list, but just know the Giants do have the opportunity, if they want, to bring back Casali, and it probably would only cost about $2 million. So that's very affordable, of course, and the Giants could afford anything, but like I'm looking at this list of free agent catchers, and it's not a great list. And so even though Casali generally had a very mediocre or below average season, I think that bringing him back the chances of it went up, but also, again, the chances of Joey Bart playing a lot more at the major league level than he otherwise would have if Posey came back, those chances also went up. And so the Giants are going to have to figure this out. I mean, I don't know that they would go into 2022 with just Curt Casali and Joey Bart as the plan behind the plate. I think at the very least, they'd probably want to add another veteran competing for playing time with Casali, maybe. But yeah, so they have a lot of work to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a trade for an established catcher, someone they like. They might go all defense. Keep in mind the designated hitter is probably coming to the National League in 2022, and so they could probably afford to maybe make it a defense first position and try to incorporate Bart in the meantime, but hide your catcher in the number 9 spot in the lineup. And it hurts less when you also don't have a pitcher in the lineup. If you have a bad hitting catcher and obviously a pitcher, you've got 2 dead spots in your lineup. But having a DH lets you hide a defense first catcher a little bit more. And the reality of the position is that most catchers are defense first. It's the worst offensive position besides pitcher. And so the Giants losing Posey, that's where it's going to show up, is they're losing a huge bat at a position where most teams don't get production. So it is a huge deal, and it's going to be something we follow very closely as the offseason unfolds. So coming up tomorrow, we'll have more analysis on this, and we'll have takeaways from the press conference that is going to take place today. Anyway, once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. You can follow me on Twitter at Ben Kaspick. That's Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it, leaving a review, liking, commenting, subscribing on YouTube, all of that good stuff. So thank you in advance, and thank you so much to everyone who's done so already. I also have a personal YouTube channel where we put out bonus content. I will link that in the description below. The channel name is just my name, Ben Kaspick. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode today. I tip my hat to Buster Posey on just an unbelievable franchise-altering Hall of Fame career, well-earned retirement, and I wish him the best, and I really hope to see him around a lot as life goes on. So anyway, can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. Stay locked on Giants.